Day One stared at the view screen as his ship drifted through the darkness of space. The stars here looked different from Earth's sky. Colder somehow. More distant. He had been commanding the Frontier Dawn for 3 years now, mapping routes through unexplored sectors, and the loneliness never quite went away. "Captain, I need you in engineering." Hana's voice crackled through his communicator. She sounded excited, which usually meant trouble. Day One left the bridge and made his way down the narrow corridor. The Frontier Dawn was not a large ship. It had a crew of 12, mostly scientists and engineers. Earth had sent them out here to explore, to find new worlds, to see what else was out there in the universe. So far, they had found a lot of empty space and a few rocks. When he entered the engineering bay, Hana was standing in front of the FTL drive with a huge smile on her face. Her hands were covered in grease and her hair was tied back in a messy knot. Around her, several monitors displayed data that Day One could not understand. "You have to see this," Hana said, practically bouncing on her feet. "I made a modification to the drive. Just a small one. I was trying to improve our fuel efficiency by 0.3%. And?" Day One asked, already knowing this would not be about fuel efficiency. "And I accidentally created something else entirely." Hana pulled up a simulation on the main screen. "Look at this. Instead of creating a bubble that moves us through normal space faster, this creates a tunnel through space itself. A real tunnel, not just a shortcut. We could cross the entire galaxy in hours instead of months." Day One felt his heart skip. "That's impossible. The math doesn't work. Every scientist on Earth has tried." "I know," Hana said, her smile growing wider, "but I wasn't trying to do it. I think that's why it worked. I approached the problem differently. I treated space like water instead of like a solid thing. And it worked, Day One. The simulation is stable. We could actually build this." Before Day One could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. His communicator lit up with urgent messages from the bridge. "Captain, we have multiple contacts approaching," the sensor officer reported. "At least 6 ships, unknown design. They just appeared on our scanners. They're moving fast." Day One and Hana ran to the bridge. On the view screen, 6 sleek vessels were closing in on their position. They were unlike any human ship Day One had ever seen. They looked organic, almost alive, with smooth curves and a strange shimmer to their hulls. "Try to hail them," Day One ordered. The communications officer worked quickly, but there was no response from the alien ships. They continued to approach, forming a circle around the Frontier Dawn. "They're scanning us," the sensor officer said. "Deep scans. They're reading everything about our ship, our systems, our weapons, our drive signature." Day One's mind raced. They were surrounded. Their weapons were minimal, designed for asteroid defense, not combat. If these aliens were hostile, the Frontier Dawn would not survive a fight. "Hana, can your modification work? Can we jump right now?" Hana's face went pale. "I haven't tested it. It could work or it could tear us apart. I need at least a few hours to prepare." "We don't have hours," Day One said, watching the alien ships move closer. "How long do you need at minimum?" 10 minutes to install the modified components. Then we jump and hope for the best." Day One made his decision. "Do it. Everyone else prepare for emergency jump. Route all non-essential power to the engines." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Hana disappeared into the engineering bay, and Day One could hear her shouting orders to her team. The alien ships were now so close that he could see details on their hulls. Strange symbols glowed along their sides. "Captain, they're powering weapons," the sensor officer reported. "Hana, I need that drive now." 2 more minutes. One of the alien ships fired. It was not a killing shot. Instead, a beam of energy struck the Frontier Dawn's engines and the entire ship shuddered. Sparks flew from control panels on the bridge. "They're trying to disable us," Day One said. "They want us alive. Or they want our ship intact," someone added. Another blast hit them, and this time half the lights on the bridge went dark. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red light. "Hana! Done! Jumping now!" The universe twisted. Day One felt like he was being pulled apart and pushed together at the same time. Colors that did not exist flashed before his eyes. He heard sounds that made no sense. For a moment that felt like forever. He was nowhere and everywhere all at once. Then it stopped. The Frontier Dawn was intact. The crew was alive, and outside the view screen was a completely different part of space. A massive blue star dominated the view and 3 planets orbited nearby. "Did we make it?" someone asked. "We're alive," Hana said over the communicator, her voice shaking. We jumped across 3,000 light years in an instant. It worked. It actually worked. Before anyone could celebrate, new alarms sounded. More ships were appearing on their sensors. Dozens of them. And these were much larger than the ones they had fled from. "Oh no," the communications officer said. "We're receiving a transmission. They're speaking English." "How do they know English?" A voice came through the speakers. It was calm, measured, and distinctly not human. "Human vessel, you have entered the sovereign space of the Velthrin Accord. Your presence here with an unauthorized hyperdrive is a violation of galactic law. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will be met with force. This is your only warning." Daewon looked at his crew. They were exhausted, scared, and thousands of light years from home. They had accidentally created something that apparently broke alien laws that humanity did not even know existed. "Power down the engines," Daewon ordered quietly. "Let them board. We'll talk our way out of this." But as a massive alien vessel moved alongside the Frontier Dawn, Daewon had a sinking feeling that talking would not be enough. They had stumbled into something much bigger than a simple first contact scenario. They had broken the rules of a game they did not know they were playing, and now they would have to face the consequences. The airlock hissed open and Daewon got his first look at an alien. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, with skin that shimmered between blue and purple depending on how the light hit it. Her eyes were large and silver with no visible pupils. She wore robes that seemed to flow like liquid, and she moved with a grace that made Daewon feel clumsy just watching her. "I am Advisor Kira of the Velthrin Accord," she said. Her mouth moved, but the words came from a small device attached to her collar. "I speak for the Council in matters of external contact. You are Captain Daewon of Earth?" "I am," Daewon replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Behind Kira, 4 guards stood with weapons that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. "We mean no harm. We didn't know this space belonged to anyone." Kira's expression was hard to read. Did aliens even have the same facial expressions as humans? That is precisely the problem. Your species should not be here at all. The nearest human settlement is thousands of light years away. The journey should take months with standard FTL technology, yet you arrived in minutes. She moved closer and Daewon caught a scent like ozone and flowers. "You have created a hyperdrive. Do you understand what that means?" "I understand it's faster than our old drives," Daewon said carefully. Kira made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Your old drives. Humanity has been traveling in space for less than a century. You are children playing with matches. And somehow you have created fire." She gestured for him to follow. "Come, we must speak in private. Your crew will not be harmed if they cooperate." Daewon followed Kira to what appeared to be a conference room. The walls were transparent, showing the vastness of space outside. He could see both his ship and the massive Velthrin vessel that dwarfed it. "The Velthrin Accord has existed for 3,000 years, Kira began. "We maintain peace among 4 species through careful control of travel. We own the wormhole networks. We decide who goes where and when. This system has prevented wars, famines, and chaos." She fixed her silver eyes on Daewon. "Your hyperdrive makes our system obsolete. Anyone with your technology could travel anywhere, anytime. Do you see the problem?" Daewon felt a chill. "You want to take our ship. Maybe kill us to keep the secret." "Some on the Council want exactly that," Kira admitted. "War Master Taeyang has already argued that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed into the galactic community. He believes we should eliminate the threat before it spread." "And what do you believe?" "I believe that trying to stop progress is like trying to hold water in your hands. It will slip through eventually." Kira sat down and the chair seemed to mold itself to her form. "I also believe that humanity might be exactly what the galaxy needs. A fresh perspective, new ideas. But I cannot simply let you leave. The Council would never allow it." "So what do you propose?" Daewon asked. "A marriage." Daewon blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "A formal union between a human and a Velthrin. It is how we have bound species together in the past. Through marriage, humanity would become part of the Accord, protected, recognized, and we would gain legitimate access to study your hyperdrive technology." "You want me to marry an alien?" "I want you to marry High Emissary Yuna," Kira said. "She is one of our most brilliant scientists and a member of the ruling council. The union would be purely political, of course. You would not be expected to perform all the duties of a traditional marriage, but it would be binding under our laws." Daewon's head was spinning. "I need to talk to my crew, of course, but understand that time is limited." Taiyang is rallying support for military action. Every hour we delay, more council members side with him. If we do not act soon, I will not be able to protect you. Back on the frontier dawn, Daewon gathered his senior staff in the mess hall. Hana, the chief medical officer, the head of security, and 3 science officers sat around the table, all looking at him with worried faces. They want me to marry an alien, Daewon said bluntly. In exchange, humanity gets protection and recognition in the galactic community. That's insane, Hana said immediately. We can just jump away again. Use the hyperdrive to get home. We're surrounded by ships that have weapons we can't match, the security chief said. If we try to run, they'll destroy us before we can charge the drive. What about this Yuna? The medical officer asked. Do we know anything about her? Only that she's important and smart, Daewon said, and apparently willing to marry a human for political reasons. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They were trapped, thousands of light years from home with no way to call for help. The marriage might be their only way out. I'll do it, Daewon said finally. If it saves the crew and gives humanity a chance in the galaxy, I'll do it. Captain, you can't, Hana protested. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Daewon said. Not one that doesn't get us all killed. 2 days later, Daewon stood in a massive chamber aboard the Veltran flagship. The room was filled with aliens of different species, all watching him with expressions he could not read. Kira stood to his left, and to his right was Yuna. She was different from Kira, shorter though still taller than Daewon. Her skin was darker, a deep purple, and her silver eyes seemed to see right through him. She wore white robes covered in symbols that glowed softly. You must be nervous, Yuna said. Unlike Kira, she spoke directly, not through a translator. Her voice had a musical quality. I am, Daewon admitted. I never expected to marry an alien when I left Earth. And I never expected to marry a human, Yuna replied. But here we are. Kira tells me you are brave, that you protected your crew even when you were afraid. Is this true? I did what I had to do. That is all any of us can do. Yuna looked at the gathered crowd. The ceremony will take 7 days. During that time, our minds will be partially connected through Veltran biotechnology. You will experience my memories and I will experience yours. It is not pleasant, but it is necessary to satisfy our laws. The marriage must be genuine, at least on a neural level. Connected, like telepathy? Similar, but deeper. By the end, we will know each other better than most beings ever know anyone. I hope your mind is prepared for mine, Captain. I have 300 years of memories. It will be overwhelming. Before Daewon could respond, the ceremony began. Priests in flowing robes approached, carrying devices that looked like crowns made of light. They placed one on Daewon's head and one on Yuna's. The connection hit him like a wave. Suddenly he could feel Yuna's presence in his mind. Her thoughts, her emotions, her memories. Images flashed before his eyes. A dying world. A young Yuna studying desperately to find a way to save her people. Years of research. Failures and small victories. And beneath it all, a deep loneliness. Yuna had sacrificed everything for her work. She had no friends, no family, no life beyond her research. She was brilliant and respected, but utterly alone. Daewon realized with a start that she could feel his thoughts too. His memories of Earth, his family, his fear of dying in space without ever going home again. For a moment their minds touched completely, and they understood each other perfectly. Two lonely people thrown together by circumstance, trying to do their best in an impossible situation. When the connection faded to a bearable level, Daewon looked at Yuna with new eyes. She was not just an alien politician. She was a person as real and complicated as anyone he had ever known. 7 days of this? He asked quietly. 7 days, Yuna confirmed. And then we will be bound for life. I hope you are ready, husband, because I have a feeling our marriage is going to be far more complicated than either of us imagined. The neural connection grew stronger each day. By the 3rd day of the ceremony, Daewon could feel Yuna's presence constantly in the back of his mind. It was strange, like having someone looking over his shoulder at all times, but not entirely unpleasant. Her thoughts were organized and precise, moving in patterns that were completely different from his own chaotic mental processes. On the 4th day, during a meditation session required by the ceremony, Daewon experienced one of Yuna's core memories fully. He saw through her eyes as a child, standing on a planet with a dying red sun. The ground was cracked and dry. Plants withered in fields. People were leaving. evacuating to other worlds, but there was not enough space for everyone. Young Yuna had watched her parents argue about who would go and who would stay. In the end, they had sent her away, sacrificing their own spots so she could live. She had watched their faces through a transport window, knowing she would never see them again. That loss had driven her entire life. Every achievement, every breakthrough, all of it was to honor the sacrifice they had made. When Daewon opened his eyes, tears were running down his face. Yuna sat across from him, and he could see that she had experienced one of his memories in return. His last day on Earth before the mission, saying goodbye to his sister and her children, promising to come home, not knowing if he ever would. Your species feels things so intensely, Yuna said softly. Every emotion is like a storm. I have never experienced anything like it. And your species thinks so clearly, Daewon replied. Your mind is like a crystal, perfect and precise. How do you live without chaos? We evolved differently. Our world required order to survive. Chaos meant death. Yuna stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. But I wonder sometimes if we have become too ordered, too predictable. The Velthran Accord has not had a truly new idea in centuries. We maintain and refine, but we do not create. Before Daewon could respond, an explosion rocked the ship. Alarms blared and the lights flickered. Through their neural link, he felt Yuna's spike of fear and anger. That came from your ship, Yuna said, already moving toward the door. Someone has sabotaged the Frontier Dawn. They ran through the corridors of the Velthran flagship, Daewon struggling to keep up with Yuna's longer strides. Guards joined them, weapons ready. When they reached the docking bay, smoke was pouring from the Frontier Dawn's engineering section. Hana was there, covered in soot, directing damage control. Someone planted a bomb near the hyperdrive prototype. We caught it before it could destroy the whole ship, but the prototype is slag. We'll need weeks to rebuild. Who did this? Daewon demanded. We have security footage, one of the Velthran guards said, pulling up a holographic display. It showed a figure in maintenance coveralls entering the engineering bay. The figure moved with purpose, placed something near the drive, and left. But the image was distorted, deliberately scrambled. This is professional work, Yuna said, studying the footage. The scrambling pattern is military grade. Only someone with high-level access could do this. Taeyang, Daewon said. The War Master who wants us dead. No, Yuna said slowly. This is too obvious. Taeyang would never be this sloppy. He is careful, methodical. This sabotage was meant to be discovered. Someone wants us to blame him. Then who? Through their link. Daewon felt Yuna's mind racing through possibilities, analyzing data faster than he could follow. I do not know yet. But we need to find out quickly. The marriage ceremony ends in 3 days. After that, you will be under Accord protection. But until then, you are vulnerable. They moved the crew of the Frontier Dawn to secure quarters on the Velthran flagship. Kira arrived an hour later, her expression grim. The council is in chaos, she reported. Taeyang is using the sabotage to argue that humans are attracting violence. He claims that as long as you are here, the Accord is in danger. Half the council agrees with him. Even though he might have done it himself? Daewon asked. He denies it, and we have no proof, Kira said. The scrambled footage works in his favor. He can claim he is being framed. She looked between Daewon and Yuna. How is the bonding progressing? We are almost fully connected, Yuna said. Another 3 days and it will be permanent. We will be married in truth, not just politics. Good. Because you will need that connection. War Master Taeyang has called for a trial. He wants to formally accuse humanity of espionage and sabotage. The trial will take place on the Velthran homeworld. You will have to defend yourselves before the entire council. The journey to the Velthran homeworld took 2 days. Daewon spent most of that time with Yuna, continuing the bonding process and learning everything he could about Velthran law and politics. Through their connection, information flowed both ways. Yuna learned about human culture, history, and the chaotic way that humanity solved problems. You make decisions based on instinct, Yuna said during one of their sessions. Not logic, but feeling. How do you ever accomplish anything? We feel our way toward answers, Daewon explained. Sometimes logic tells you something is impossible, but your gut tells you to try anyway. And sometimes the impossible works, like your hyperdrive. Exactly. Hana wasn't trying to invent it. She was just playing around, following her curiosity. If she had been trying to solve the problem logically, she never would have found the answer. Yuna was quiet for a long time. Our species would never work that way. We would see it as a waste of resources. But perhaps that is why we have stagnated. We have eliminated the random elements that lead to breakthroughs. The Veltran homeworld was beautiful. It orbited a stable yellow star, and the planet was covered in vast cities that seemed to grow organically from the landscape. Everything was elegant and perfectly balanced. There was no pollution, no chaos, no disorder. To human eyes, it looked almost sterile. They landed at the council chambers, a massive structure that rose from the planet's surface like a mountain of crystal. Inside, the council was already assembled. Hundreds of Veltran in formal robes sat in a circular chamber. At the center was a raised platform where Taiyang stood. He was different from Kira and Yuna. Larger, more muscular, with skin that was almost black instead of purple or blue. His silver eyes were cold and calculating. When he saw Daewon, he smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. "The human arrives," Taeyang said. His voice was deep and carried easily through the chamber, bringing chaos and destruction wherever he goes. In the few days since humanity's arrival, we have had sabotage, near war, and now this mockery of a marriage. I say humanity is too dangerous to be allowed into the Accord. We should take their technology and send them back to their primitive world. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. Daewon felt his heart sink. They were going to lose. Taeyang had turned the council against them, but then Yuna stepped forward. Through their link, Daewon felt her determination, clear and strong as steel. "War Master Taeyang speaks of chaos," Yuna said, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "But I have experienced the human mind directly. I have seen their memories, felt their emotions. And I have learned something that terrifies me more than any weapon." The chamber fell silent. "We are dying," Yuna continued, "not physically, but intellectually. We have not had a major scientific breakthrough in 200 years. We have not created anything truly new in 300 years. We maintain our technology, but we do not advance. We are becoming obsolete, and we do not even realize it." "Nonsense," Taeyang said. "We are the most advanced civilization in this sector, are we?" Yuna asked. "Humanity has been in space for less than a century, and they have already created technology we never imagined possible. Not through careful planning, but through chaos, through trying things that should not work, through following curiosity instead of logic." She turned to face the council. "We need humanity, not for their technology, but for their way of thinking. They can teach us to be creative again, to take risks, to dream of things we have forgotten how to dream." Daewon felt a surge of hope through their connection. Yuna believed what she was saying. The bonding had not just taught her about humans, it had changed how she thought. But Taeyang was not done. "Pretty words," he said. "But I have evidence that humanity is more dangerous than you realize. Evidence that they have been communicating with hostile forces. Evidence that will prove they are not innocent explorers, but spies and saboteurs." He gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed encrypted transmissions, supposedly sent from the Frontier Dawn to unknown recipients. The implication was clear. Humanity was not alone. They were working with someone else. Someone dangerous. Daewon stared at the display in shock. The transmissions were fake, they had to be, but they looked real. And if the council believed them, he and his crew would be executed as spies. Through the neural link, he felt Yuna's mind racing. She was analyzing the data, looking for flaws in Taeyang's evidence, and slowly she began to smile. "I know what you did," Yuna said quietly, so only Daewon could hear through their connection. "And now we are going to prove it." Yuna stood before the council, and through their neural connection, Daewon could feel her confidence like a steady flame. She had found something in Taeyang's evidence, some flaw that would unravel his entire accusation. "War Master Taeyang presents these transmissions as proof of human conspiracy," Yuna said, her voice carrying through the vast chamber. "But I propose something different. I propose that we use the neural bond to verify the truth. Allow me to share my memories with the council, exactly as I experienced them during the bonding ceremony." The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. What Yuna was suggesting had never been done before. Velthran law allowed for neural bonding between individuals, but broadcasting those intimate memories to hundreds of observers was unprecedented. "This is highly irregular," one of the elder council members said. "The privacy of a neural bond is sacred." "I waive my right to privacy," Yuna said firmly. "And I ask my husband to do the same. Let the council see the truth directly, without filters or deception. Let them experience what I have experienced." Daewon felt her question through their link. She was asking for his permission, even though she could have proceeded without it. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I agree," he said. "Show them everything." The technicians worked quickly, setting up the equipment needed for a mass neural broadcast. Yuna and Daewon were fitted with more complex versions of the crowns they had worn during their bonding ceremony. The council members each received a smaller device that would allow them to experience the shared memories. Taeyang watched with a sneer. "This proves nothing. Memories can be falsified." "Velthran neural technology cannot be fooled," Kira interjected. "If these memories are real, the council will know. And if they are false, we will know that too." The broadcast began. Through their amplified connection, Yuna and Daewon became one mind, and that unified consciousness reached out to touch every member of the council. The sensation was overwhelming, like standing at the center of a vast web of thought. The council experienced everything. They felt Daewon's confusion and fear when the Frontier Dawn was first surrounded. They experienced his determination to protect his crew at any cost. They saw through Yuna's eyes as she first met the human captain, seeing him not as a threat but as something new and interesting. Then came the deeper memories. The council experienced Earth as Daewon remembered it. They felt the chaos of human cities, the constant noise and motion and unpredictability. They experienced human emotions in their raw intensity, joy and sorrow and anger crashing over them like waves. Some council members gasped at the force of it, but they also saw humanity's achievements. The council watched as humans struggled and failed and tried again, building civilizations despite constant setbacks. They saw art and music and literature, all born from chaos and emotion. They saw the human drive to explore, to question, to never accept that something was impossible. And woven through all of it, they experienced the truth. Daewon had not communicated with any hostile forces. He had not sabotaged anything. He was exactly what he appeared to be, an explorer who had accidentally stumbled into galactic politics and was trying desperately to navigate a situation he did not understand. The broadcast also revealed something else. Hidden in the encrypted transmissions that Taeyang had presented as evidence, Yuna had found a pattern. The transmissions had not come from the Frontier Dawn at all. They had come from somewhere else entirely, from ships that did not belong to the Accord, ships that used technology even more advanced than Velthran systems. When the broadcast ended, the council chamber was silent. Many of the council members looked shaken. Experiencing human consciousness directly had clearly affected them. "The humans are innocent," one elder finally said. "The memories do not lie. They are not spies. But the transmissions are real," another council member added. "If the humans did not send them, then who did?" Yuna pulled up a new analysis on the holographic display. The transmission pattern matches known Korvax communication protocols. The Korvax are a secretive species that exists beyond Accord space. They have been watching us for centuries but have never made formal contact. These transmissions were sent to make it appear that humans were communicating with hostile forces. But in truth, the Korvax were communicating with someone inside the Accord. All eyes turned to Taeyang. "This is absurd," the War Master said, but Daewon could see the first hint of uncertainty in his expression. "You accuse me of treason based on wild speculation?" "Not just speculation," Kira said, stepping forward. She had been working on her own investigation during the trial. "I have been tracking supply shipments and communications in the military sector. Resources have been disappearing, War Master. Weapons and ships that should be in our inventory are missing, and the authorization codes for these transfers trace back to your office. I am War Master. I oversee all military operations. Of course, transfers would trace to me. But these are off-book transfers," Kira continued. "Supplies moving to coordinates outside Accord space, to the same region where the Korvax transmissions originated." She displayed a star map showing the pattern of shipments. "You have been supplying them with our technology. In exchange for what? Advanced weapons? The promise of power?" Taeyang's expression hardened. "You understand nothing. The Accord is weak. We have grown soft, complacent. The Korvax offered me a way to make us strong again. They have weapons that could secure our dominance for millennia. At what cost?" Yuna demanded. "What did they ask in exchange?" "They wanted to ensure that no one developed hyperdrive technology. They see it as a threat to their power. I was to destroy the humans in their ship, eliminate the possibility of others acquiring the technology." Taeyang looked at Daewon with cold hatred. "You and your crew should have died the moment you entered our space. But Kira interfered with her talk of marriage and alliances, so I had to find another way. You sabotaged our ship, Day One said, understanding finally clicking into place. Not to frame yourself, but to create chaos. To turn the council against us. And it almost worked, Taeyang admitted. But now it seems I have run out of options. His hand moved to a device on his belt. However, I still have leverage. The Korvax have placed weapons in your star system, Captain Day One. Weapons aimed at your son. If I am arrested, if I do not send a specific signal within the next hour, those weapons will activate. Your Earth will burn. Horror flooded through Day One. Through the neural link, he felt Yuna's matching fear and rage. They had stopped Taeyang's conspiracy, but the War Master still held the ultimate threat. You would destroy an entire planet? Kira asked, her voice shaking with anger. I would do what is necessary to protect the Accord, Taeyang said. Now here is what will happen. You will release me. You will give me a ship and safe passage to Korvax space, and you will destroy all hyperdrive research. Do this and Earth survives. Refuse and billions of humans die. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some members demanded Taeyang's immediate arrest. Others urged caution, not wanting to risk Earth's destruction. Arguments flew back and forth while Day One stood frozen, unable to think clearly through the panic. But through their neural link, he felt Yuna's mind working. She was not panicking. She was thinking, analyzing, looking for a solution with that crystal-clear Velthran logic. And slowly she began to form an idea. An impossible, ridiculous, completely illogical idea that no Velthran would ever consider. It was the most human plan Day One had ever encountered, and Yuna had thought of it herself. Through their connection, she shared the plan with him. Day One's first reaction was disbelief. It could not possibly work. It was insane. But then again, so was accidentally inventing a hyperdrive. We have a solution, Yuna announced, her voice cutting through the chaos. But it will require a decision that goes against everything the Accord has stood for. We must give the hyperdrive technology away, to everyone, right now. The chamber fell silent as every eye turned to her. You would share it? An elder asked. With all species? Even those outside the Accord? Especially those outside the Accord, Yuna confirmed. Do you not see? Taeyang's leverage exists because the hyperdrive is rare and valuable. The Korvax want it suppressed because it threatens their power. But if everyone has the technology, it becomes worthless as a strategic asset. Taeyang loses his bargaining position. The Korvax threat becomes meaningless. That is chaos, Taeyang said. You would destabilize the entire galaxy. Yes, Yuna agreed. But we would also free it. No more monopolies on travel. No more controlling who goes where. Every species would have equal access to the stars. She looked at Day One, and through their link he felt her determination. My husband taught me something during our bonding. Sometimes the best solution is the one that seems most chaotic. Sometimes you have to break everything to build something better. This is madness, an elder said. The galaxy is not ready for such upheaval. The galaxy was not ready for humans either, Kira said, a slight smile on her face. But here they are, forcing us to adapt. Perhaps Emissary Yuna is right. Perhaps it is time for change. The vote was close. Many council members feared the chaos that would come from freely sharing hyperdrive technology, but in the end, enough of them were swayed by Yuna's argument and by the memories they had. The galaxy changed overnight. Within hours of the council's decision, Hana transmitted the complete hyperdrive schematics through every communication relay in Velthran space. The data spread like wildfire, jumping from system to system, species to species. There was no taking it back. Day One watched the transmission status on a monitor in the council chambers. Each new receiver showed up as a point of light on the star map. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Species that humanity had never heard of were receiving the gift of unrestricted travel. It is done, Yuna said, standing beside him. Their neural bond had become permanent during the trial, and now Day One could feel her presence constantly, like a second heartbeat. The old order has ended. Whatever comes next, we built it together. Are you scared? Day One asked. Terrified, Yuna admitted. Through their link, he could feel the truth of it. She was a creature of order, and they had just introduced pure chaos into the galaxy, but also excited. For the first time in my life, I do not know what tomorrow will bring. That is a very human feeling, I think. Behind them, Velthran guards led Taeyang away in restraints. The War Master had not resisted arrest once his leverage evaporated. The Korvax had retreated to their mysterious space, their weapons in the Sol system dismantled by Accord ships that had raced there at maximum speed. Earth was safe, though its governments were probably very confused about the alien vessels that had appeared in their system. Kira approached them with a satisfied expression. The Council is in chaos, but it is productive chaos. Half of them are terrified, and the other half are already planning how to adapt. Several species have announced they will begin hyperdrive construction immediately. The wormhole monopoly is effectively over. What happens to the Accord now? Day One asked. It transforms or dies, Kira said simply. My guess is that it transforms. We have 3,000 years of diplomatic infrastructure. That still has value, even if we no longer control travel. We will become facilitators instead of gatekeepers, advisors instead of rulers. She looked at Yuna with something like pride. You did well, emissary. That was the most un-Velthran decision I have ever witnessed. Your human husband is a bad influence on you. The best kind of influence, Yuna replied with what Daewon had learned to recognize as her version of a smile. 6 months passed. The galaxy settled into its new reality. Though settled was perhaps the wrong word, more like adapted through constant motion. New trade routes opened daily. Species that had never met before were suddenly neighbors. There were conflicts, of course, but also unexpected alliances and discoveries. The Frontier Dawn had been repaired and upgraded with Velthran technology. Hana had become something of a celebrity among alien engineers, giving lectures on human problem-solving methods. She had co-authored several papers with Dr. Minho, a Velthran scientist who had initially been horrified by human engineering practices, but had grudgingly admitted they produced results. Your approach to quantum mechanics is offensive, Minho had told Hana after their third successful collaboration. You treat fundamental laws of physics like suggestions. It should not work, but somehow it does. That's the human way, Hana had replied cheerfully. We're very good at doing things that shouldn't be possible. Daewon and Yuna stood on the bridge of a new ship, one designed jointly by human and Velthran engineers. It was larger than the Frontier Dawn, built for long-range exploration and equipped with the most advanced hyperdrive yet created. The ship represented the best of both species, combining Velthran precision with human innovation. The Council has approved our mission, Yuna said, reviewing the official documents. We are to establish the first joint human-Velthran colony on a world that our scientists deemed uninhabitable. We have 3 years to prove them wrong. Only 3 years? Daewon grinned. That's plenty of time. Through their bond, he felt Yuna's amusement mixed with affection. Their marriage, which had begun as pure political necessity, had become something real. They were partners in every sense, their minds so intertwined that sometimes it was hard to tell where one ended and the other began. I have been reviewing the planet's data, Yuna said. The atmosphere is toxic. The surface temperature fluctuates wildly, and there are predators that our biologists classify as extremely dangerous. Every logical analysis says colonization is impossible. Perfect, Daewon said. Sounds like a challenge. That is exactly what I thought you would say. Yuna pulled up a holographic display of the planet. I have been studying human history. Do you know how many times your species was told something was impossible? Flight, space travel, faster than light speed. And every time humans simply ignored the impossibility and did it anyway. It's our specialty. It is maddening, Yuna said. But Daewon could feel her excitement through their bond. Also fascinating. Also exactly what I need in my life. A message came through from Earth. Daewon's sister appeared on the screen, older than he remembered, with more gray in her hair. Behind her, he could see his nieces, now teenagers. Big brother, she said, tears in her eyes. We got your transmission. We've been so worried. When those alien ships appeared in our system, we thought it was an invasion. But they were protecting us? From some kind of weapon? It's a long story, Daewon said. I'll explain everything when I see you. I'm coming home soon. There's someone I want you to meet. Her name is Yuna, and she's my wife. Also, she's an alien. Also, we're going to establish a colony on an impossible planet. It's been a complicated few months. His sister laughed through her tears. Only you could leave Earth for a routine survey mission and come back married to an alien. Mom and Dad would be so proud, and so confused. After the call ended, Daewon felt a wave of emotion wash through him, relief that his family was safe. Joy at the thought of seeing them again. And underneath it all, excitement for the future. You are thinking about the colony, Yuna said, reading his emotions through their bond. You already have ideas. Dozens of them, Daewon admitted. Most of them are probably terrible. Most human ideas are terrible, Yuna agreed. But the ones that work change everything. That is why we need you. Why the galaxy needs you. A priority transmission came through from Kira. Her holographic image appeared on the bridge and she looked pleased. I wanted you to hear this directly, Kira said. 47 species have requested diplomatic meetings with humanity. They want to learn from you, study your methods. Some of them want to establish joint research programs like ours. You have become the most sought-after species in the galaxy, and you have been part of the galactic community for less than a year. That seems fast, Daewon said. It is unprecedented, Kira confirmed, but you must understand what you represent. For thousands of years, the advanced species have been stuck in our ways. We perfected our systems and then stopped growing. You humans are still growing, still changing, still creating. You remind us of what we used to be before we became comfortable. What about the Korvax? Yuna asked. Have they made any moves? They are quiet for now, Kira said. Watching, waiting. They are a patient species. They will study this new galaxy and adapt their strategies. But I am not worried. If they try anything, they will find that the galaxy is no longer a stable, predictable place. They will have to contend with human chaos, and I suspect they are not prepared for that. After Kira signed off, Daewon and Yuna prepared for their departure. The crew was assembled, a mix of humans and various alien species. Hana was there, of course, along with Dr. Minho and a dozen other scientists and engineers. They were going to attempt the impossible, and everyone on board knew the risks. Ready? Yuna asked, her hand hovering over the hyperdrive controls. Always, Daewon replied. Through their bond, they shared a moment of perfect understanding. They were two beings from different worlds, different species, different ways of thinking. But together, they were stronger than either could be alone. Yuna brought logic and precision. Daewon brought creativity and intuition. Combined, they could solve problems that would stump either species working separately. The ship jumped to hyperspace, and the galaxy blurred around them. They were heading toward an impossible planet to build an impossible colony. They would probably fail dozens of times before they succeeded. But that was fine. Failure was just another form of learning. I have been thinking, Yuna said as they traveled through hyperspace, about what we will name the colony. Human tradition says the discoverer gets to choose the name. What did you have in mind? New beginnings, Yuna said. Because that is what this is for both our species. A chance to start fresh, to build something neither of us could build alone. I like it, Daewon said. Through their bond, he felt her happiness at his approval. The ship emerged from hyperspace above the target planet. It looked harsh and unwelcoming, exactly as the reports had described. But Daewon looked at it and saw potential. He saw challenges to overcome, problems to solve, and the opportunity to prove that nothing was truly impossible. So, Hana said over the intercom, "What's the plan, Captain?" Daewon smiled. "We do what humans do best. We try something that shouldn't work and make it work anyway. We fail, we learn, we try again, and we keep trying until we succeed." "That is not a plan," Dr. Minho complained. "That is barely even a strategy. Welcome to the human."